Hi, you're about to see a short 10-minute demonstration of DBVS, which when used as your database version control and release management solution can save you time and money, all while increasing quality. But when you combine DBVS with MKS Integrity for workflow and MKS Deploy for release management of your source code, you have an end-to-end enterprise solution that not only provides audit trails, version history, and true control, but also automated releases and rollbacks for both database objects and source code, all driven from a single unified workflow. Let's get started. First, a release manager will create a release. This release will be release 3 of our order application, which tracks orders for our fictional company. Next, a project manager will create a task which represents a unit of development work. This change requires a developer to add the very important functionality to track orders, which our order application is severely lacking. The PM assigns the work to a developer. Now a developer can begin work by setting the state of the task to in progress and creating a change package against it. This change requires both a source code change as well as a database change. First, we'll check out the source code file, modify it to support the tracking of orders, and check it in. Some changes may require edits to many files. We're editing only one for the sake of brevity. Once our source code work is done, we submit the change package to commit the changes. This project is broken down into 3 main sub-projects: database, documentation, and source. As you can see, source contains our source code, including the order application service.java file we just modified and checked into version 1.2. The entire database sub-project is managed automatically by DBVS. The development database contains 3 tables at the moment: employees, shipments, and sites. Now we will complete the task by making a database change. In this case, we have determined we need a new table in order to track orders. Notice that we are able to use whatever means we wish to make the change in the development database. Here we are using the GUI provided by SQL Server Management Studio. We are not forced to write any SQL scripts. We are ready to use the DBVS client to add the new table to version control. The only time it is necessary to use the DBVS client is when you wish to perform a version control operation on a database object such as add, checkout, or check-in. Here we're able to select the task we are working on so our database change is traced to the task that required it. Due to the strict locking options we have set for this particular database, we no longer have access to modify the table once it's added to version control. DBVS has translated the table's metadata into XML and automatically added it to version control in MKS. By examining the task's change packages, we can easily see the exact source code and database changes that were required to satisfy it. Finally, the developer changes the state of the task to complete. Once the release is ready, a release manager will relate all approved tasks to the release. For simplicity, we are releasing only one task. Then the release manager will deploy to QA simply by changing the state of the release. The database deployment is handled by DBVS and the source code deployment is handled by MKS Deploy. A normally complex and time-consuming task, the deployment of code and database changes, has been reduced to seconds. We can verify that MKS Deploy has deployed the source file and DBVS has deployed the new orders table. Considerations like ordering of operations based on object dependencies is performed automatically by DBVS, which saves you time and also increases quality by automating normally error-prone manual tasks. At some point, the quality assurance team will run test cases against the QA environment. If a test case fails, we can automatically roll back the release as we see here. Again, a normally complex and costly task has been reduced to a simple state change. We can verify that MKS Deploy has successfully rolled back the deployment of the source file and that DBVS has successfully rolled back the deployment of the new orders table. Now we can change the state of the release back to in progress to signify it is back in active development. Developers can then begin to remediate any defects that led to the failed test cases. For this exercise, we will reopen our existing task, create another change package against it, and perform another source code change as well as another database change. We use the DBVS client to check out the orders table. Because of the exclusive locking option set on this database, we are not granted alter permissions on the table until we check out, which gives us maximum control over the database. Our database change will consist of adding a new column to the orders table. The DBVS client tells us who has which objects checked out at all times. Once finished, we check the table in, and alter permissions are once again denied to all developers who access this database. MKS gives us the capability to review the actual code changes made to satisfy any task. Likewise, because of the easily human-readable nature of DBVS's XML format, we can review database changes in a similar fashion. Here, we can easily see that a new column was added to the orders table. Defect remediation is complete, so we close our task. We are ready to redeploy, so Release Manager once again changes the state to deploy to QA. We can verify that MKS Deploy handled the source code deployment, including the extra line of code that fixed the defect. We can also verify that DBVS successfully deployed the fixed orders table with the new quantity column. DBVS is a very powerful database configuration management and release management product. When combined with MKS Integrity and MKS Deploy, you have a solution that can not only cut costs, but also completely automate your releases from simple state changes in a workflow.